Okay guys, so today we are connecting the transfer case to the transmission. So I got the front of the car jacked up, got a nice big puddle of random shit under there, and got bolts, tools, freaking parts, everything all over the freaking place. So I'm gonna have to get under this thing and get this thing lifted up, put it in there. I have a new, sorry I got the camera going all over the place. I have a new breather plug for it. And I got all the OEM bolts right here, straight from STM tuned. So, ready to roll. Little update for you. The transfer case is in. Everything's bolted down with those new bolts. So here is the bolts that would normally go for the intermediate axle. So here it is, and since I have a 95, the first gen axle intermediate axle will work on this car. For the 97 and up, they changed it, and I don't remember exactly what they changed, but it doesn't quite line up with the bracket. So, long story short, what goes on here is you have your AC bracket with your AC bolted down to it, and then this actually connects to this bolt on the AC bracket, goes through the block, and then this one goes through the block as well. The difference is because that AC bracket is there, one of these is nice and thick because the AC bracket isn't there, and the other one is nice and thin. So what happens is when you try to put the bolt through the block, you got all these extra threads. So once this is bolted down tight, you got about, I'd say about that much left sticking out. Then this one's nice and thick, so when you bolt it down, all the threads go through and you're good to go. But since I don't have AC in the car, I don't need this bracket. So what I did was I literally cut out that section and made a spacer. So I know that might be a little ghetto, but it's better than trying to put the entire AC bracket back on behind the car. So now I can sit this back here like that, use that as a spacer, and it's nice, thick, hard metal. It's not going to crack or nothing like that. Use that as a spacer. Now I can bolt this down to the block. I'll show you guys where that goes if you don't already know. So right down there you can see, well, I guess you can't see. It's very difficult. I'll stick the male end. This is a double male end. So this end will go into the transfer case, or sorry, not the transfer case, the transmission. And then this side will connect to the axle and bolt down to the block. So slide into the transmission, axle will slide into this, and then it'll come out through the wheel hub. So everything's there. Like I said, now that I have this, I can actually go up underneath and install it in the car. And once it's installed in the car, I'll show you guys what I mean. Okay guys, right there is what I'm talking about. See, the axle goes into the transmission way in the back there. Comes up, there's the two new bolts, connecting it to the block. Have the axle separated right now. I'm going to put some fresh grease in there and reconnect the axle boot, but I have the assembly all ripped apart. That way I can get the freaking axle in, because it is one hell of a time trying to get this axle in here with all the suspension in the way. So, had to undo some things and get this new axle in, but now I think we're good to roll. So what we're going to do now is just put the other end of the axle back onto the axle, and then slide it onto the intermediate axle there. Then we'll go ahead and do the passenger side. Hopefully get done with this tonight. But I got the axle in, I got the middle axle in, and connected the whole way back into the transmission. Repacked it really good with some grease and put the boot back on, and then I'll get a new clamp for it whenever I'm able to, but I should be able to do it here in the car. I have enough room there. So I wanted to just get everything else on. I got the castle nut tightened down, all that fun stuff. So all that's done. I was really hoping to get the turbo mounted tonight, and it just didn't work out. I'm actually really annoyed because I actually had a spare turbo for this car, and a spare 16G turbo, and I had it for about 4 years. And one day I was like, you know what, I'm just going to get rid of this thing. So I finally sold it. And I literally sold it probably 2 or 3 months before I bought this car. So if I wouldn't have sold it, or if I wouldn't have sold it, I'd probably still have, I shouldn't have sold it. So I'd still have it, and I could still throw it on. Well, I ran out of time. It's getting super late, and I have neighbors close by, and it's like 11 o'clock at night on a Thursday night, and I'm being pretty loud over here with my air compressor and stuff for the suspension bolts. So, yeah, I definitely am calming it down, and I'm calling it a night. Alright guys, so it's the next day, and first things first, I actually started routing the intercooler piping, and I now have the intercooler brackets fully bolted down, top and bottom, so this thing is not, it's literally not going anywhere, so hopefully we won't have to worry about the couplers popping off or anything like that. Just doing some test fitting here as far as the intercooler for the intake manifold, and I actually used an old 14B turbo that I had laying around to test fit how the piping was going to go. So I have that piping pretty much ready to roll. So I went ahead and put the turbo in there so I could test fit this, make sure it all routed correctly and nothing hit anything, and that was all good. So I probably edited it out of the previous video, but I am getting rid of the T25. This will end up being a backup turbo. I just had some issues with it, so I'm going to get rid of it and get a 16G. So yeah, whenever that gets here, you guys will see all that. Basically, everything will be ready for it. I have the oil line already here, ready to roll. So all I'm going to have to do is tighten that down. I have the oil return line all ready to go. New gaskets ready, everything. So literally it's going to be a quick bolt-in procedure just to get that new turbo in. But once that's in, that should be done. So what I'm going to do, and probably to finish off this video, I'm in the middle of pulling my throttle body off. So I'm taking these bolts back off, pulling the throttle body off. And the reason I'm doing that is because I have that idle control sensor. I'm going to be deleting that. That'll probably be in the next video, but I'm going to go ahead and pull it all off now and get rid of that pipe. The throttle body's off now, and here's the piece that would basically bolt up underneath. This is what I'm removing, and if I can show you, oh yeah I can. Right here, I just looped the line, which this piece was actually perfect for. So it literally just goes from right there, comes up, and loops down in there, whereas normally this would connect to this piece right here, and then this one right here would actually come down and plug in there on the coolant line. But here's the throttle body as it sits. It's not that dirty, surprisingly, for being a 95 engine. It's really not that dirty, but I'm going to clean it up a little bit anyway. We're going to put new gaskets on it, and then once that block-off plate gets here, I'll install that block-off plate and a new gasket in here as well. Put all that onto the car and start finishing up the rest of the intake piping. I just installed the front bumper. It's pretty much all lined up. Everything lined up great. Really the only issue I had was I had a bolt over here where the head snapped. Well, actually the bolt snapped in half. So it got stuck inside. What I did was I had to take some vice grips and really clamp down on the top of the bolt, spin it out backwards, and then once the bolt was finally out, I put new bolts the whole way through and new clips for all the fender liners. You can see that there. I don't know if you can see it. It's kind of dark. There you go. New clips in the fender liners onto the bumper. Hooked up the parking lights, they all work. I painted these and threw them in. Just painted them satin black for now. But yeah, there it is. So that's good news. I'm still waiting on the throttle body block off plate for the FIAV. And so I figured I'd throw something else into the video. I got my stock heat shield here, and obviously, I have a bolt there stopping it. So let me take that out. So a lot of DSMs I see don't have heat shields on them. I think it just makes it look a lot cleaner, and you can route your wire from your O2 sensor up the way it's actually supposed to go and keep it out of the way and keep it away from the heat. And so I think that's the best way to go, is to run a heat shield, and obviously it helps with engine temperature as well, but not like crazy. But anyways, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sand this thing down, hopefully get rid of all this rust. And then what I'm going to do is I got some engine enamel, heat paint, the same stuff I used for my block, my transmission, and my intake manifold. So I'm going to use this, respray this thing silver, and hopefully it'll clean up nice. If I don't like the way it looks, I'll just spray it black. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do that quick. And something else I did that I failed to show in another video is I painted, it's got dirt and crap all over it, but I painted the bumper bracket and put that back on the car. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to clean this thing up, get some paint on it. Alright, so I put a couple really good coats of the black on. What I did was, since I didn't want to put like a latex primer or anything like that, or even an etching primer, just because I wasn't sure the heat rating it would have, I went ahead and put several really thick coats of the high heat engine enamel black. The reason I didn't use the silver was because it would model up really bad and probably look like complete crap. So I went ahead, I did the black first, have it sit in front of the heat lamp so it'll hopefully dry up pretty quick. And then once that's flashed off and nice and dry, starts flattening out, then I'll spray that silver on it, and hopefully that'll be good. You know what? This isn't perfect by any means, but it definitely looks a lot better than it did. I mean, when you get up on it, you see the dents and you see like some of where the rust was. I actually sprayed some like rust inhibitor on it before I put it, before I sprayed the paint on it. So I grinded it down as much as I could without literally getting out a grinding disc and grinding away at it. So like I said, it'll do for now. Maybe down the road I'll get like one of those really nice stainless steel polished ones or something like that. But for now, I mean, it looks a lot better than what it did, so I can't complain. Final last touch I just did. I know it's probably not the exact factory location. I know it like should be maybe up a little bit and over a little bit further, but I kind of like it there better. Right on the edge, right on the bottom. I got the factory GSX sticker, so that's awesome. Alright guys, I'm going to end the video here for today. We got a good bit of stuff done, and hopefully soon that new turbo will be here. We can put all the intercooler piping on, put the new throttle body piece on, and put some fluids in it and start the thing. So we're getting there. I ordered the fluids for the transmission, differential, and the transfer case. I got the oil for the car, got the coolant for the car, so we have all the fluids ready to go. So I'm sure there's going to be some new content coming soon, and this thing should be running pretty soon. So you guys will see that hopefully in a week or two. So anyways, guys, I appreciate you watching. As always, I'll see you in the next one.